Welcome to the January 2023 edition of Hunt Camp Mail. January is the last month that most people get to do any hunting. And I hope everyone got to do some last minute hunting before we had to put our guns to rest in the safe for the next 8 or 9 months. I know it sounds sad. And since most shotguns and rifles are getting stored for a long time after January, don't forget to clean them and give them a fresh coat of oil before they go back into the safe. The drought out west is kind of ending in a dramatic fashion. If you've watched the news at all, you know this. And I think this is really going to revive bird and big game numbers in the west. I received a really unusually large amount of mail for January. I don't know why. So I selected some letters that stood out to me this month. And this will be a long episode of Hunt Camp Mail. So pour your favorite beverage, grab a comfortable chair, and get ready for a lot of mail this month. And our first question for January 2023 is from James. And James didn't say where he was from. James wrote, I watched your A300 versus A400 video. Are these two shotguns self-cleaning when it comes to lead fouling? I shoot primarily lead slugs in my Mossberg SA-20 and TriStar Viper 20 gauge. Getting the lead out is a real chore. Well, yeah, it can be, especially if you're shooting those slugs. But no shotgun is self-cleaning when it comes to lead fouling. That's a myth. When a manufacturer advertises their shotgun as self-cleaning, they're referencing the ability of that gas system on that gun to keep carbon deposits in check, and that's basically all it means. Any lead slug or bullet that forms a really tight seal in the bore is going to foul a barrel no matter what, but chrome-lined barrels and highly polished barrels will be easier to clean in that regard. And our next question is from Rich from Colorado. Rich wrote, I have a Model 70 stainless classic with the B.O.S. system and 7mm Remington Magnum. The B.O.S. system is interesting but finicky, as well as primarily a muzzle brake, although I have the non-muzzle brake piece too. My question is, should I keep this, rebarrel it, or sell it? Well, Rich, most people preferred the B.O.S. device without the holes in it so it doesn't act like a muzzle brake, because most hunters hate muzzle brakes. The B.O.S. device is basically just a crude high harmonic tuner for your barrel, and that's all it is. Basically, probably half the people who use the B.O.S. system swore by it and liked it, and the other half claimed that it really did nothing at all for their groups. If you hand load and do proper load development, meaning you go through the whole process, such a device like the B.O.S. system is probably a waste of time. You know, Winchester and Browning dropped the concept because it really didn't catch on or become popular. And, you know, the hunters just really didn't like that crap attached to the end of their barrel. But, you know, whether you keep it or not is up to you. It's your rifle, so it's your decision, not mine. But since suppressors are illegal in my state, I personally prefer to have nothing on the end of my barrel. And our next question is from Philip from Oregon. Philip wrote, why do you prefer the 1 in 14 twist for 35 Whelen? I get asked that a lot. You know, I prefer the 1 in 14 twist in the Whelen because 95% of the bullets for the 35 Whelen are 180, 200, and 225 grain bullets. And the 1 in 14 twist rate is perfect for those bullet weights, in my opinion. The 1 in 14 twist rate will also perfectly stabilize the 250 grain bullets. I mean, Winchester used to load the 250s as a standard round with their 1 in 16 twist barrels. So the 1 in 14 is even fine for 250 grainers. That 1 in 12 twist barrel becomes an advantage if you want to go above 250 grains and shoot bullets like the 280 grain A-frames or something like that. But The velocity is so low with those heavier bullets in 35 Whelen that I just don't like shooting them. Even those 250 grain loads are so slow that they usually won't adequately expand a TSX at 200 yards. For what we hunt in North America, I'd rather have a 225 grain bullet going at 2,800 feet per second than a 280 grain bullet going at 2,100 feet per second. So that's my opinion on that. And our next question is from Tim from Central California. Tim wrote, Desert Dog, I see you are an experienced California hunter that seems to hunt everything, including rabbits. This last summer, I killed 2 cottontails in the foothills with my .22. I took them out of my pack to skin them and noticed some huge fat worms started coming out of the chest right through the fur and started crawling on my tailgate. It was like a scene from the movie Aliens. I hate wasting meat, but I left those rabbits for the coyotes because I was absolutely disgusted. What were those little aliens popping out of the chest of those rabbits? You didn't have an alien encounter, Tim. What you saw are known as warbles or Cutariba, and they're the larvae of a common botfly that targets rabbits and squirrels, usually in the spring and summer months. And you're correct. They're absolutely disgusting, just like you said. I think it's kind of stupid in California that our rabbit season opens on July 1st. During the summer months here, especially in the warmer places, our bunnies have rabbit fever, fleas, ticks, worms, and as you saw, botfly larvae. Rabbits in California are just riddled with parasites and diseases in the summer months. So my advice is to not hunt rabbits until at least November in the warmer areas of the state. I shot a rabbit in October while quail hunting the opener a few years ago, and I put that rabbit in my upland vest and kept hunting and discovered that my entire back was just covered in fleas within 10 minutes. So I wait till it gets cold to hunt rabbits these days. December and January, I think, are the best times to hunt rabbit here. But I'll never put another rabbit inside my pack or vest again because of that. It's a very traumatic experience. And our next question is from Alan from Ashburn, Virginia. Alan wrote, I noticed all the mail regarding the 35 Whelen. I'm considering having one built for myself. I had a .338 Win Mag rifle built by E.R. Shaw, and is built upon the Shaw modified Savage action. It is an outstanding shooter. I'm considering having them make one in 35 Whelen for me. Have you had any experience with their products? I've never owned a Shaw rifle before, and I've never used a Shaw barrel, so I can't really give you an opinion on it. I do know that within gunsmithing circles, they have a very middle of the road reputation. If you're happy with their work and service, I see no reason for you not to use them again. Just be mindful that there's lots of barrel manufacturers out there doing rebarrels, so you're not just stuck with E.R. Shaw. And I personally prefer not to use a Savage style action on a custom hunting rifle, but it's your rifle, so it's your choice. And you have to excuse me, my voice is kind of going out. I spent all day yesterday yelling at the TV and talking shit to my friends during that 49er game, so you're going to have to excuse me, my voice is going out a little bit. But our next question is an international question. It's from Andre from France. Andre wrote, the Beretta 686 is the most popular and trusted shotgun design in most of Europe. The USA shooters prefer the Browning Satori more than the Beretta 686, and UK shooters are evenly divided between Browning and Beretta. You say in your videos that the way a shotgun fits is more important than the name on the gun. It appears like regional loyalty to a brand has a bigger part of gun selection than practical attributes like fit. That's a very keen observation, Andre. It's something I really never considered until you brought it up in your letter. Having the Beretta 600 series of shotguns made close to home in Europe probably has something to do with the high amount of loyalty in the European market and availability and price point locally for those 686s is probably an important factor in Beretta's strong following in Europe. Shooters in the UK tend to be more formal in their approach to shotgun use, in my opinion. You know, they tend to try guns out before they buy them, and UK shooters are more likely to take shooting lessons than American shooters will. So in that environment, UK shooters usually favor fit over brand name. You know, that's why you see probably a 50-50 split between Beretta and Browning in the UK, because it all boils down to fit. The American market is a different animal entirely, and gun loyalty is usually determined by the actual shooting disciplines themselves. Pure upland hunters in the USA mostly like Beretta. The 686 is lighter, slimmer, and a little bit more reliable in design than the Browning is. Also, the 600s are easier to work on than the Brownings. I mean, you could pop off the ejectors in the field without any tools with the 686, and parts are also really cheap for it. Upland hunting in North America involves a lot of hiking over harsh terrain, so we tend to favor carrying the Beretta over and unders more than the Browning while we hunt. In American clay shooting circles, just the opposite is true. The additional weight and clunkiness of the Browning is a welcome trait to most clay shooters. You know, when I attend any local sporting clay or skeet shoots, probably 80% of the guns out there are Brownings. So hunters tend to buy what they see other hunters using, and clay shooters tend to shoot what they see the competition guys use. So brand loyalty and hero worship definitely plays a big part in the decision making of American firearm owners. And this is going to piss a lot of people off, but I actually think that European and Australian shotgunners are better than the average American shotgunner because they start with shotgun fit first, then learn the fundamentals of shooting before even attempting to hunt birds or shoot a sporting clay course. You know, Americans tend to just buy a shotgun without trying it and jumping right into hunting, which isn't really that good. Our next question is from Chris in Memphis, Tennessee. Chris wrote, "My question for you involves reloading. I noticed on some internet forums that people claim to get 3,000 feet per second out of their 308s with 150 grain bullets without going over pressure. One guy claimed to get 2,980 feet per second with 155 grain bullets and 47.7 grains of varget with nozzler brass. I tried to load one at my bench just out of curiosity, and the bullet barely goes into the case neck with that much powder. If I load it there, I would have to single feed it because it won't fit in any short action magazine box. I don't dare fire that round because it would be way over pressure and might blow up my gun. It seems that there's a great deal of fibbing and false information on reloading sites regarding velocities. This is a serious accident waiting to happen. Have you ever heard of anyone getting sued for providing dangerous reloading data and causing injury after a firearm blows?" You know, no, I haven't heard of anyone getting sued for that before, but I think it's a case that a good attorney could probably win. You know, it's pretty easy to prove that they're lying about their load data and deliberately led you down a dangerous path. I personally never give people load data and always tell them to work up loads from safe levels. And part of that is because of the liability. It's so easy to go over pressure while you're reloading. And most internet commandos do it all the time without even realizing it. To further muddy the waters here, most of those guys lie about their velocities because they think velocity is some kind of dick measuring contest. The 280 AI and 338.6 guys are really bad about this, and you'll find that out. It's almost like most of them have Magnum envy or something like that. And rather than being happy with a good, stable, safe, and accurate load, they want to pretend like they're beating the 7mm Magnums and the 338 Win Mag. I remember a guy on Accurate Reloading a long time ago stating that he safely got like way over 2,900 feet per second from his 338.6 with 225 grain nozzlers. And many of us put the charge weight he claimed to use in 330.6 cases, 338.6 cases, and the powder went all the way up to the top of the case neck using a drop tube. So he was 100% full of crap. But never get load data from people online, and never trust the velocities that they claim to get. Always start load development at least 8 to 10% below maximum in the reloading manual, and work your way up from there. The sooner that you realize that most people are full of shit, the better off you're going to be in life. Trust me on that. Verify everything people say before you accept it as the truth, or you run your mouth and rebuttal and end up being wrong. Do your own research before forming an opinion on anything. And this is especially critical when it comes to putting charges of gunpowder in a case. And our next question is from Leon from San Antonio, Texas. Leon wrote, "My M77 Tang rifle I bought used after watching your video sucks. I added the sear you recommended, and the trigger is many times better. I also had it bedded by a gunsmith and bought stainless hex screws so I can properly torque the action. Lastly, I tried load development with 2 powders and 3 types of bullets. This thing still has horrible accuracy. My best group during load development was with H4350 and Sierra Game Kings, and that was 3 MOA 5-shot group off a bench rest with supported rear. The AccuBonds I wanted to use shoot 5 MOA out of this gun. I already paid $300 to have it bedded and don't want to spend another $800 to have it rebarreled. What do you recommend I do?" Starting to get sick of these letters, man. For about the last 6 months, almost a quarter of my mailbox is full of people like this wanting help with their used M77s that don't shoot good. Every piece of advice I could give you on the M77 was in that video. And if you paid attention to that video at all, you probably wouldn't have bought that old M77 in the first place. Quality and accuracy on those old rifles are really hit and miss. And I told everybody that, but you obviously ignored it. If you're lucky and you get a decent M77 Tang rifle, good for you, man. But if you're unlucky and get a bad one, you either put more money into it than it's worth, or option number 2, you do what most people do and sell it off to someone else and make it their problem. The M77 Tang safety rifles are the used Ford 6.0 diesel trucks of the rifle world. They really are. I don't have anything constructive to add anymore. I mean, everything I know about the M77, which is a great deal, was presented to you in that video. The fact that I received so many letters from people who just bought used M77s and want help should kind of tell you something. Our next question is from Virgil from Oklahoma. Virgil wrote, "Your A400 video came out just in time. I had shoulder surgery twice, and I can't handle the recoil of my Benelli M2 anymore while duck, goose, and sandhill crane hunting. I bought the same A400 Extreme Plus you have and took it duck hunting after Christmas. You basically saved me from completely quitting waterfowl hunting. The recoil reduction on this gun is amazing. I estimate that it has about 70% less recoil compared to my old M2 with the same loads. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't need to ice my shoulder down after a weekend of duck hunting. Thank you for everything you do. This letter really resonated with me because I remember dealing with rotator cuff issues and a fractured clavicle on my shooting shoulder. And I also remember the pain I felt while I was shooting my M2, and dealing with all those issues at the same time. And I'm very happy that you didn't have to stop hunting. I mean, that would have been a tragedy. The kickoff system on the A400 Extreme Plus is just amazing in my opinion. If you don't want to sell your other shotguns, I also recommend the Falcon Strike hydraulic recoil pads. I've installed 2 of those on some of my friends' pump shotguns, and they just rave about them. But I wouldn't put them on an inertia gun because it might affect cycling. So on some of your other shotguns, you might want to look into that Falcon Strike hydraulic recoil pad. And our next question is from Pete in San Jose, California. Pete wrote, "Your killing power discussion was interesting, but I think you should have discussed the increased killing potential of hollow point bullets. Hollow points are lethal enough to where our military is not even allowed to use them by international law. Hollow points cause the bullet to expand and do way more damage than any other bullets." Sorry, Pete. Bullshit! 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 Several other people posted similar comments in that video comment section, and I think that video went right over most people's heads. Most self-defense handgun ammunition needs a deep hollow point design because most handgun ammo doesn't have the velocity to properly expand most bullets. Also, with defensive handgun ammunition, the hollow point bullets are designed basically to prevent overpenetration and collateral damage. They're designed purely for self-defense against other human beings in the safest way possible. But hunting bullets and rifle cartridges are a completely different subject entirely. Most rifle cartridges are going 2 to 3 times faster than a handgun cartridge does. And rifle cartridges expend multiple times more energy into the target. This calls for a tougher bullet with controlled expansion and mass retention. Handgun bullet design is radically different, and it has radically different requirements than a rifle bullet does. With rifle cartridges, a hollow point bullet isn't necessarily for expansion like you think. It's also for accuracy. Most target competitions are ruled by hollow point bullets, and those bullets aren't considered optimal for hunting. I'd take a Nosler Partition over a hollow point VLD for hunting any day of the week. Also, please stop believing that old wives' tale that hollow point bullets are illegal for the United States military to use. U.S. military snipers have been using hollow point Sierra Match Keens for over 35 years. So, and also since 2015, most of our military now uses, I believe, the 147 grain hollow points in their sidearms. Yep, those new SIGs are rocking hollow points these days. The United States of America is not bound by Article 4 of the Hague Convention because it was never ratified by the United States Congress. So yes, the U.S. military can use hollow point bullets whenever it wants to. It can also use bunker busters, thermobaric bombs, anti-personnel mines, frag grenades, MOABs, and nuclear weapons whenever it wants. And our next question is from Willie in New Mexico. Willie wrote, "Thanks for the review on the CZ457. I bought one and think it's one of the most smartest decisions I ever made with a gun purchase. It's so accurate and made with high quality and easy to switch calibers too. I've already taken rabbits and raccoon. At first, I researched on the internet and a lot of people badmouthed the 457. I'm glad I listened to you instead. You earned my subscription. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying your 457, Willie, and thank you for the subscription. I love it when I have to earn people's subscriptions. That's the way it should be. If you heard people bad mouthing the 457, it was probably on an internet forum, am I right? Internet forums died for a reason because over half the people on them are just full of crap. And I guarantee you that most of the people commenting on the 457 on that forum don't even own one. The real beauty of YouTube is that you actually get to see people handling and using the products that they're reviewing. And this weeds out a lot of the bullshit. So other than the wokeness, YouTube is actually a good tool. Since I made that 457 video, also, just to let you know, about 7 aftermarket barrel manufacturers are now making drop-in barrels for the 457. So you don't have to wait, ungodly periods of time for the factory CZ mini sets anymore. And our next question is from Steve from Utah. Steve wrote, after reading the comments on your new Killing Power video, I had flashbacks of your February 2022 Hunt Camp mail, where you categorized your viewers into 5 types. It was crazy how many commenters just repeated exactly what you said in that video. I know you believe most of your viewers are good citizens, but I think most of your viewers are actually skimmers. Thank you for running such a great channel and for your honest opinions on hunting gear. Man, I can't believe that you remember what I said in a Hunt Camp Mail episode from over a year ago. But you're right, the skimmers were out in full force with that video. Very few people actually watch the videos that they comment on. So, yeah, there was some eye rolling when I was reading some of those comments. Our next question is from Frank from Bozeman, Montana. Frank wrote, I've been following your channel for over 8 years, back when you had your old channel before it got removed by the antis at YouTube. Your content gets better every year. You were the first hunting influencer to mention FORLOH hunting gear back in 2020 and recommended them in your hunting pants video in 2021. You promised us a review of FORLOH gear, but you never delivered on your promise. Did you have issues with their hunting clothes? I was waiting for somebody to call me out. Honestly, I guess I just lost interest in doing a video on FORLOH products. Their gear is really good, especially their deep space base layer, which I use all the time. But in all honesty, the company did turn me off a little. Now I'll explain that. I go, as you all know, I go to Montana a couple times a year because I have roots there. And in 2021 and 2022, I plan to be pretty close to the FORLOH factory. So I contacted them numerous times, well in advance. I wasn't just going to show up at the last minute. And I contacted them numerous times in advance to see if I could do a quick video kind of featuring their facility and products. To make things clear, I never asked for sponsorships or any free stuff. I'm not like that. I just wanted to introduce my viewers to a great American-made product and get 15 minutes of their time so they could tell my viewers their story. But they never responded to me. And I know my email was being opened and read. They were obviously ignoring me. And I just figured, maybe they didn't want the attention. And hell, I can relate to that. Then recently, I see some of the big influencers in the industry like Boddington, the Duck Dynasty guys, and a bunch of cable TV hunting shows getting a lot of love from FORLOH. And it makes me believe that they just don't have the time or any interest in little guys like me. It's their company, so they can market it however they want. They just don't resonate with me anymore. And I was literally one of their first customers. And they chose to ignore me, so now I'm ignoring them. But they do make good products made right here in the United States of America, and I appreciate that. And thanks for calling me out, Frank. And our next question is from Julio from Lancaster, California. Julio wrote, "That Euro-style hunt looked fun. I'm going to contact Tejon Ranch to see if me and my friend can join the next one. We duck hunt about 5 weekends a year, and it looked like you were shooting farther than we shoot at ducks. I also have a shot cam set at 4x, and ducks I shoot at 40 yards look closer than the pheasants in your video. How far were the shots during the Euro shoot part of the hunt? What size shells did you use?" Be happy to answer that. I'm not really sure if you need to be a member or you need to be invited by a member of the Tejon Ranch to join this hunt. I don't know. So I'd give them a call and ask what their policy is. But during the high pheasant shoot, I'd say that the average shot was probably about 40 to 45 yards. The problem is that the ranch only allows a maximum of number 4 shot for this hunt, and it has to be non-toxic shot. Most of the guys out there were using 3-inch number 4 steel duck loads. But after doing this hunt, I actually would have preferred number 2 loads. As you saw in my shot cam footage, I was hitting some of those birds really good with tightly choked number 4s, but the pheasants just weren't very impressed by it. The most challenging part of that hunt for me was that I'm not used to shooting straight up at birds that high. It's actually really hard to judge distance when you're shooting straight up because there's no objects in the background for your mind to use as reference for distance. And this makes it really challenging to establish a proper lead. But I started adjusting really good as I went. I kind of changed my technique up a little bit as I started shooting more on those birds. But I'm a very good shot with shotguns, and I found the Euro shoot to be pretty challenging for me. It's definitely worth doing if you get the opportunity, and the Tejon Ranch puts on a great hunt. And our next question is from John from Western Australia. John wrote, "What would you say is the most dangerous country you have ever been to on a trip? And are there any countries that you won't go to due to safety concerns?" Oh, definitely. But I'll admit it, I felt relatively safe in most of the countries I've hunted and fished in. But I don't do stupid things or leave myself vulnerable to problems when I travel. A lot of people invite trouble because they can't keep their mouths shut or they completely lack self-control. And we all know people like that. And it's not a good idea to take people like that to certain places. Some South African cities in RSA can be a little sketchy, but most of the African countries we hunt in really aren't that bad. I definitely stay away from countries like Somalia, Congo, Mali, or the Sudan. El Salvador, when I went to El Salvador, that was a very scary trip. And trust me when I say that San Salvador is no place for an American to fool around in. I was also in Nicaragua when people took to the streets, and that was pretty scary because I've never experienced anything like that. But Nicaragua is a pretty safe country today. But it was a trip that required us to drive through Juarez, Mexico. That was probably the craziest experience of all of them. We actually saw a gunfight taking place on side streets while we were trying to haul ass through town. We also saw what appeared to be a dead body on the side of Highway 45 coming out of Juarez. So that little adventure in Juarez, Mexico was pretty exciting, and I haven't returned since. So I've done my thing on 5 continents, and I could say with certainty that Latin America has some of the most dangerous places on earth. I'll never go back to El Salvador again. and Colombia is getting very bad. Mexico, I mentioned Juarez, Mexico. Mexico has some of the most dangerous places on earth, but it's a really big country, and it also has some very safe places to visit. So you need to do your research, and your research needs to be recent too, because cartel activity usually determines how bad an area is going to be in Mexico. If there's a turf war in an area, it's going to be bad. If one cartel is in clear control of an area, it's usually pretty safe. It's a sad reality in Mexico. But not all of Latin America is dangerous. Costa Rica, Belize, Panama, Argentina, and a host of other Latin American countries are very safe. I've been told that Cuba is even a very safe country as well, and I hope to do some fly fishing there one day. But I'm definitely not burning my vacation time to visit Afghanistan, Venezuela, El Salvador, Syria, Yemen, or North Korea. Our next question is from William from Reno, Nevada. Biggest little city on earth. Also, I hope Officer Dangle's still with the force there. William wrote, I can't believe your channel has so few subscribers. I've been following hunting channels for 10 years and just now found out about you after a friend told me to watch your reloading video. I started watching your other videos, and my brother and I are hooked on Desert Dog Outdoors. The Hunt Camp Mail is amazing because you freely give so much wisdom. Now I know where other tubers got the idea from. Maybe you need to market your channel better through social media, selling hunting products, or getting on TV. Well, thank you very much for these kind words, William. But I basically have two things working against me. Number one, I don't have any public affiliations with sponsors or media. Hell, you don't even know my real name, do you? And as a result, I have no name recognition. And I'm fine with that because I think I value my privacy more than I value popularity. And number two, I make videos about topics that really only serious hunters tend to care about. This makes my core base of followers pretty small, but people don't want videos about hunts, about actual hunting or fishing or hunting gear or history, shooting techniques, or videos about ethics. People want videos about their favorite cartridges and guns. My cartridge and gun reviews get hundreds of thousands of views and probably account for most of the revenue on my channel, but everything else is only watched by a small core group of people, even the video you're watching right now. But videos of actual hunting and fishing really get almost no views. And our next question is from Brian from Lompoc, California. Seem to be getting a lot of letters from Lompoc since I've been doing Hunt Camp Mail. And it makes sense. There's some great hunting around Lompoc, both black-tailed deer, quail, pig, everything. And I love that little town. But Brian wrote, I'm starting to develop a load and was curious on your recommended process for narrowing down bullet selection for a particular rifle. Well, don't overthink or overanalyze bullet selection. That's a mistake a lot of people make. Pick the bullet you really want to use and start load development with that. If you can't find a good powder or accuracy node for it, just change powders and do it again. If it still doesn't like the bullet, then you could probably go through the process of trying another bullet out. But what you'll find is that when you go through a proper load development process, you could get almost any bullet to work within the limitations of your rifle. And by limitations of your rifle, I mean the accuracy potential of your barrel, the bedding, and optics mounting on your gun, as well as your shooting skill and your bench rest setup. You'll find that powder does affect the process a lot more than the bullet you use does. Most people who tell me, my rifle doesn't like this bullet, don't go through proper load development or just don't have an accurate rifle to begin with, and they like to blame it on the bullet. And our next question is from Billy from the state of Georgia. Billy wrote, "Your humidity video makes sense. It gets so humid in Georgia, our ammo starts blowing out primers and splitting cases in the summer. Should we only buy and make sealed ammo in the summer months?" No, I'm not going to do it. But you got this wrong, Billy. Humidity actually causes the powder to burn slower and experience lower velocities and pressures. It's exposure to dry air that causes dangerous overpressure situations, not humidity. If you Georgia boys are experiencing blown primers and split cases every summer, it's because you can't read a damn scale or reloading book, not because of the humid weather. In that video that you watched, I clearly stated that I haven't seen any velocity swings with loaded ammo in different humidity extremes. I only see the issue when my powder is stored in different humidity extremes and I load that rifle powder. I personally don't think that using a sealer is really worth it unless you intend to store your ammo where it might get wet. And our next question is from Jake from Huntington Beach, California. Jake wrote, "Why are manufacturers trying to turn fishing rods into golf clubs? The expensive all graphite or mostly graphite rods seem to cast poorly, and yet the cheap all fiberglass or mostly fiberglass rods cast great. To be clear, I'm speaking about medium power stand-up boat rods that are in the 6-foot range that are all or mostly graphite carbon fiber with supposedly fast actions." Well, I use both type of rods depending on circumstances. You know, my old fiberglass CalStars and Seekers cast a little chovy a decent distance if I do my part, and are perfect for the types of fish that eat our common, chovies or sardines. It's the big fish where the graphite rods take over. Fiberglass rods seem to work against you when you're pulling on big fish, where graphite rods seem to keep pressure on the fish better, with less stress on your back, arms, and legs. Faster rods just put more leverage on the fish. I mean, that's just simple physics. Where graphite rods really became popular and dominant is when Spectra line, fishing line became popular. Because of that Spectra line, fishing reels just got really small, light, and more powerful, and those graphite rods just balanced better with that tackle. Also, most anglers found that graphite rods handled that braided line better during the actual fight on big fish, because braided line has zero stretch, and the faster actions tend to fish better with the super braid lines. But my favorite rods are my CalStar Graphiter rods, which are made of both fiberglass and graphite, and they just give you the best of both worlds. Most of my boat rods right now for big fish are CalStar Graphiters. And our last question for the month is from Richard from Norfolk, Virginia. Richard wrote, "I plan to start hunting next season, both deer and birds. I bought a 270 rifle and a shotgun, and I've been practicing. I took my hunter safety course and have done much research on hunting, so my confidence is really high. As an experienced outdoorsman, do you have any advice for the actual planning and execution of a deer hunt?" Planning is often the hardest part for a new hunter, but your first step is to pick some areas that you want to hunt and scout them out before the season opener. Most of the work for deer hunting success takes place before opening season starts. It also might be beneficial for you to buy some trail cameras and learn how to use them. Also, be mindful that the further you scout off the beaten path, usually the better. The state of Virginia has some great public land hunting opportunities, which a lot of other states don't really have. Just avoid areas where they're allowed to run dogs during hunting season. Those areas can be a real shit show during the rifle opener, so I'd avoid those areas. But another thing, a piece of advice I'll give you is you should have a plan to deal with your kill if you're successful. At a minimum, you should know how to field dress a deer, but knowing how to skin and quarter a deer is even better because you can pack it out easier and you can get your meat on ice quicker. Meat care is very important after you kill an animal. But don't forget to bring a cooler big enough to hold your deer quarters. That's a rookie mistake I see all the time. Another thing that rookies do too much, in my opinion, is stress on weather forecasts. New hunters I take out will constantly send me texts about weather forecasts up to 10 days before the actual hunt. Weather forecasts more than a few days out are pretty much useless. So stop worrying about the weather until the hunt is really close, maybe a couple days out. And even at that, it doesn't really matter because you're going to go hunting anyway. A good hunter is prepared for cold and wet weather, regardless of what the weatherman says. And lastly, don't quit if you're not having success. Keep hunting to the last minute of every day. Bagging a deer on the last hour of the last day is pretty much how it works for me. It's like the hunting gods demand that I have to prove my worth before I receive my reward. So don't give up when the hunting's slow. Stick it out and keep trying to the final minute because, that's usually where people are successful. Well, that ends another Hunt Camp Mail. Here's some memes for the month of January. I have some very in-depth videos planned for next month for you, including a B.O.S. shot shell review and an updated hunting boot review. So subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss those videos. You could follow me by hitting my Insta at Desert Dog Hunting. You can also contact me with any questions or comments at desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. Well, thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.